Hi, welcome to the F1 Time Portal, a Formula One history podcast started by two proud Formula One fans. I'm your host, Rosa.
And I'm your Love is the Drug host, Luigi. And today we're taking you back to the 1975 season, part 5. So let's go.
Love is the drug.
Yeah, I like that song. Do you know the song?
Yeah? Who sings it?
Roxy Music. You know, Brian Ferry.
Yeah, Brian Ferry. Yeah.
He's got a very romantic voice, hasn't he?
Yes. Deep.
So.
Right. Well,
Luckily,
I've used the word proud.
Yeah, what are you proud
reasons.
of? Yeah.
Well, maybe something that happens in this part of the year. We'll see.
Okay, you'll let us know when that time comes, will you?
Know. Yes,
okay.
Yes, I will. Okay.
Okay, shall we get on with it? Race 10, the British Grand Prix. A race historically we've found hit and miss. Sometimes awesome, sometimes opposite. So we'll see.
Exactly.
So It's at Silverstone, July 19, 56 laps, and the weather is showery, which makes for an interesting race. So lots of new safety measures were introduced around Silverstone, including a new chicane at Woodcote Corner. And this actually brought complaints from the purists, but also arguments that it was necessary in the interests of safety. So this is not a new topic. It continues all the way to today. And the main reason this was introduced was because of the big first lap pile-up in 73. And, of course, this year's Spanish race didn't help things either.
No. So the 73 incident, that was the Scheckter is a, what would they call it, like lunatic or something?
Something
what
like
they call?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. And it wasn't really his fault. His rear wheel just went on the grass a little bit and it sort of fishtailed him a bit. But, yeah, that was a massive pile-up in 73.
Yeah, and they all blamed him and everything like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and look, this argument always brings complaint. It's always there, isn't it? It's people who want safety in the race and people who just want the race to be fast. I mean, it's a perennial, ongoing argument.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I still remember with Monza when they put that chicane in, that changed that Monza race. It never was the same again. It went from unbelievable, exciting, slipstreaming racing, but extremely dangerous and high speed, which is sort of the heart of Formula One. But it changed that race completely. So that's the impact these chicanes can have.
Like
we don't want drivers to get hurt. We don't want drivers to get hurt.
No. And I totally agree with some of the safety measures on the cars, like, you know, the halo and the way that the chassis are built to protect I think there's a cockpit part that's stronger. But I do sometimes think that some of the safety measures, especially in managing a race, go too far. And we saw that in the last race in 2025 as well.
The Belgian Grand Prix, they didn't start because of the weather, you mean? Yeah,
they just waited until it was like bone dry. I was like, really?
What's wet weather tyres for, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Or intermediates, you know, they just waited way too long and then there was a rolling start.
Yeah, that
wrecked it. I just think some of that, it did wreck it. I think there's a balance between safety and exciting racing. But I think we've gone into an era where everyone is very cautious about making those decisions that cause, injury and fault and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So there are a couple of team changes at this race and a big name.
Yes. Jackie Ickx and Colin Chapman mutually agree to go their separate ways, Luigi.
Yes. This is not the first time that Ickx has had these departures mid-season or something.
No. Well, he got fed up. Did he get fed up with Ferrari and walked out on them? Is that what he did?
And remember, it was at 70, this is 75. I think it was 73. It was 73, yeah.
It was 73.
Ferrari had some issues with their car. He drove the McLaren. Suddenly he was on the front row and he realised how bad the Ferrari was.
That's right.
And then he basically walked out. And he's doing it again here. But the Lotus is also bad too. So
yes.
So it's not
Yeah.
necessarily X's fault, but he's standing by what he feels, I guess.
Yeah. Look, I don't know. I don't know if he races with any other team this season. I'm not sure because, like, if he did join a team, it must have been a very low kind of grid team, and we don't really talk about him. But he does race until the 80s, doesn't he?
I don't know if he makes the 80s, but yeah, this is. I would suggest this is the beginning of the end for X. Like he's managed to get his name mentioned a few times this season. Did well to get up to second in a couple of races ago, I think. But yeah.
But yeah, that was at the Spanish Grand Prix where everyone else didn't want to race, and he continued to practice, and he didn't believe in the Drivers Association stance. So I don't know. It's not a great look for him, but it's probably too early to do him a wrap up, though. I think
no. He's going to be driving for a long time. No, absolutely not. Right. Yeah,
but yeah,
and let's see if this triggers an upswing in Lotus fortunes, because Ferrari did an upswing after he walked out on them at the end of 73 and in 74.
Yeah,
Ferrari was dominating, and this is another sliding doors moment. This could be like X could be louder, essentially.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
So to the race with the new chicane, which Mike Lang called rather dull, the drivers had to learn a new way around the track during first practice, and that caused quite a few thrills for the crowd to watch.
Interestingly, though, lap times increased by about 4 seconds. So that might have quietened down some of the whingers or made their voices louder, slowing down the show. Like, I don't know, but the lap times increased. So interesting on your viewpoint, I guess, on how that looked.
Yeah. Oh, look, it depends on if they're about safety, then 4 seconds a lap slower is safer.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
As long as the show's not too materially impacted, but we'll know when we go through the race now. So regardless of the chicane, the two Ferraris did set the early pace, but it was Price in the shadow who set a time of 1 minute 19.36 that eventually took pole. No one could get near it in the second session. So look at this. Price is back. If it's not Jarier, it's Price.
Yeah, but he did have a bit of luck because rain washed out most of the first practice. But yes, the closest time in the second session was from Pache in the Brabham, which was 1 minute 19.5. So it was quite a good lap from shadow the shadow. Yeah.
So we had the informed Ferraris third and fourth with Lauda ahead of Regazzoni.
So one thing that Mike Lang spends quite a bit of time in his book going through is that Graham Hill had a farewell lap around Silverstone. Obviously, this is a home Grand Prix, and he announced his retirement in the last race from driving. So just before the main race here, he did a lap, like a farewell lap. So I thought it might be a good time for us to go through some of his career highlights now for us, because we've kind of gone on this journey with him for quite some time. So
he's been in the Formula One since 58?
Yeah, since 58
to 75. I mean, that's remarkable.
Yeah, it is. So his record, Louis, is, and this is interesting because we talked about, do you remember Denny Holmes' podium percentage?
29%, yeah.
29. So Hill's got 20%. So he's got 36 podiums from 176 starts, which was a record. Like he broke the old record set by Fangio at the 1957 Italian Grand Prix. So, and then Hill's record would be broken by Jackie Stewart at the 1973 Brazilian Grand Prix. So he was right up there. He had 14 wins across 18 seasons.
And I was going to mention about the percentage of podiums. Remember, he did a lot of races in the back of the field from 70 onwards. So that ratio would be a lot better if he pulled the plug, say, 69. Do you know what I mean? So that's a very diluted number.
We did say he probably went on a little bit too far.
Extremely too far. But he achieved so much, though. Like, 2 world championships. He won the Indy 500 in 66 and he won the Le Mans in 1972. And he's achieved the only triple crown of motorsport, which is the only driver to have ever achieved it. And the only driver that recently tried it was for Alonso, who's won the Monaco race and he's won Le Mans. But he did try to win Indy. He might still try to win Indy later after F1. I suspect he still wants to achieve that. I wouldn't surprise me if
wouldn't
Alonso.
surprise me.
But look how that's something that Graham Hill has achieved, and it's still being held so highly by someone in current Formula One.
So he initially joined Lotus in Formula One as a mechanic, remember, before earning a driving debut with the team at the 1958 Monaco Grand Prix.
He threatened them, I remember. He threatened them.
That's right. But so that was really in the early years of Lotus. So after no championship finishes in 58 and 59 with Lotus, he moved to BRM in 1960 and he scored his maiden podium at the Dutch Grand Prix.
Yeah. He won a further 3 races as he secured his maiden title He didn't secure his maiden title in 1960. I think they're referring to 62.
I think
he won 62 and he won 68. But his rival in 62 was Jim Clark and Bruce McLaren.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and he finished runner-up to Clark the following season before losing the 64 title by 1 point to John Surtees, Louis. Remember that?
Yeah. And I noticed I had to put in this extra text here because you didn't put it in. Because we remember Baghetti and Hill having that collision at the finale, which sort of, I mean, Clark should have won that championship. And then I think Hill should have won it and then Surtees, but it was Surtees that won it thanks to Baghetti. So thank you, Baghetti, for giving us a memory and taking championship away from
rewriting history. Clark wasn't even in the running at this stage.
He was winning that race, remember, till the last lap.
Clark?
In 64? Yeah.
No, he wasn't. He had gotten out of the race. He wasn't racing. Baghetti wasn't racing Clark. But
anyway, but Clark was winning the race. Anyway, let's move on. Yeah.
Let's move on. Otherwise, we'll be here forever arguing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he took multiple wins in 65 as he finished runner-up to Clark again once more. And then it was the 66 and 67 Repco years that he didn't have a very good campaign in 66. And then he went back to Lotus to partner Clark.
Yeah. And that was a big call because Lotus weren't exactly a top team at that stage.
No.
So it was a big call, but he was teaming up. He was going next to Clark like a superstar. So
yes,
that he would not have beaten Clark if Clark didn't pass.
Yeah. Well, he did finish 5th in that 66 and Clark's 6th. And then in 67, he finished 7th to Clark's 3rd. So that wasn't great.
Yeah, okay. There was a lot of retirements, but yeah.
Yeah. So then Clark was killed after their 1-2 finish at the season opener in 1968. And this is where really Hill, I think this is what defined Hill to me, when he just rallied the team and battled for that title win with Jackie Stewart. And Hill won it at the final race of the season. And that was a massive point for that Lotus team in that year.
Yeah, and it just showed his resilience and toughness. So really, really impressive to win that. So he was nicknamed Mr. Monaco for having won the race 5 times. He won the last race in 1969, a little bit fortuitous, but still you have to be there to win it, and it's not an easy race to win. And that record would stand for 24 years. So really impressive.
And then in 69, at the US GP, he was injured during a serious crash and he broke both of his legs and it ended his season early. And I think it was at that point, Louis, where we thought he probably should have called it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. He was already in the decline mode before that accident. Some people say that accident changed him, but he was already on that path. So, yeah. So then he went on he recovered, joined the Rob Walker Lotus team, and then he went to Brabham for a further 2 seasons. This is in his quiet years, 71, 72, and did not have much success. And then he founded the Embassy Hill team mainly because he couldn't get a drive.
No.
But good on him, because I'm going to give credit for that, because not many people have the persistence and fortitude to create a team to keep doing what they love doing. Hey, if I was Hill and I loved racing in Formula One and I had the means, I'd do it too. And he probably didn't, and it's a good on him for that. So even though it sounds like we're being half critical, we're not. I'm acknowledging that not everyone could do their own team. So good on him.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and he's the father of Damon Hill, which, a lot of people would know from our era. And, we'll get to his career soon enough, and we'll see how much of his career emulates his father's career. That will be interesting.
A lot of similarities in a way.
So anyway, I thought it would be nice just to recognise Damon Hill after all those years.
Graham Hill.
Graham Hill, sorry.
Yes. So back to the race. So this is the British Grand Prix. And that's why he had the lap of honour, and we've given him a bit of airtime to recognise his career. This is the first time at any GP that green lights were used to start the race instead of a flag drop. So that's a pretty big moment.
Yeah, big moment. Yep.
And I take this opportunity to also remind everyone, which I do every now and then, about the 1961 Dutch Grand Prix, in which all the drivers who started finished and there was not a single pit stop, and the race went the full distance. So I just thought I'd mention that for two trivia things. So 75 Britain. Yeah.
Okay, so as the lights turned green, Price and Pache took off together, but it was Pache who got ahead at the first corner and took the lead.
And further back, Hunt made a big move from 9th to be running just behind the Ferraris in 5th.
So as a precaution, the race organisers had implemented a no overtaking rule on the first lap between the vehicle bridge after Abbey Curve and the exit of the chicane. So they all went through in an orderly single file.
That's a major call by the I know.
I reckon.
It's a major call by the race organisers, and I guess they were still scarred from the 73 incidents, so they're doing everything they could to avoid all that, right?
Yes. So once past the chicane, the race was back on, and there was a lot of shuffling and some retirements due to mechanical issues. By lap 10, Pache was leading, Regazzoni was second, having since passed Price, who was now third.
And Regazzoni was on a charge, and on lap 13, he overtook Pache, under braking to take the lead. So pretty impressive for that number 2 Ferrari driver. I'm going to start calling her number 2 Ferrari driver.
Yeah. So Regazzoni led the race for the next 6 laps, and for a while the order stayed the same except for Price overtaking Pache for second. That's pretty good for that shadow.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a great result. And it's at this point, Louis, that I have to say it was strange doing this race review because Mike Lang does not go into any detail on the race in this part. He's actually more concerned about what's happening with the weather. So I was like, can you tell me who's fourth? Like what is happening in this race? So it was very strange. So as we know, Mike Lang is British, and I can say that he was definitely at this race. Like he would have been there in person watching this. So the weather was
impacting him personally.
And it was impacting him personally, or something's about to go down. Something big's about to go down.
Yeah, okay,
so
let's see.
see.
So there were large storm clouds gathering over the track, and the race started and rain had started falling over parts of it, which always makes it tricky when some parts are wet and some parts are not, right? So on lap 19, the sudden weather change caused Regazzoni to slide off the track and damage his rear aerofoil against the barrier. This caused him to pit and lose the lead of the race. And let's also appreciate that he could continue in the race because in modern mid-2020s F1, anything to do with the rear wing is pretty much automatic retirement. So they could actually fix them back in those days. So, yeah, I mean, he's not going to feature anymore, but at least he can do testing. like Fittipaldi did a few races ago.
That's right. So with Price in the shadow now leading, it was only 2 laps later that he had an even bigger moment at Beckett's, spinning off and slamming into the catch fences. No pit stop would fix that, not that he could drive anymore. So now we have Scheckter in the lead, followed by Pache and Lauda.
Oh, it's a pity about the shadow because, you know, it
was good for Price.
Yeah, so Scheckter had made some real moves, and thanks for letting us know, Mike, because the weather was getting worse. So Scheckter pitted for wet weather tyres, which now handed the lead to Pache in the Brabham.
So over the next 2 laps, Lauda, Jarier and Depailler also stopped to put on the wets. Some pit stops were good, i.e. Scheckter only lost 8 places. But for Lauda, his was terrible, and he had to stop twice to have a loose wheel fitted properly.
Wow. Ferrari DNA. Even when they're dominating, they still find a way to remind us that they are still Ferrari at their core. And we don't always pick on Ferrari, like we picked on Lotus as well.
We did. So interestingly, some drivers were not bothering to stop for wets. They were just driving slower through the wet parts of the track. So that was Pache, Fittipaldi, Hunt. Well, we know Hunt's a bit of a risk taker, so I'm not surprised. And Mas, who now held the first 4 places in the race.
And that's never a good strategy, I think. They were hoping their gamble would pay off by the weather getting better. But did they forget what country they were in?
Exactly.
Hunt should have known better. Hunt should have known.
100%. So now we have Scheckter on wets going great guns, and he had caught up to this leading slick pack, and by lap 27 had overtaken all of them to take back the lead, like in one lap, and then proceeded to pull away.
I mean, not so great a gamble as far as Jarier was also on wets when he went past all of them to take second. It would have been fun to watch, though. It would have been cool fun. I mean, it would have felt like great as a driver to just zip past people. You'd feel like you were super fast. Four people all at once. That's hilarious. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But then the weather did change. By lap 32, most of the circuit was dry again. So Scheckter went back into the pits to change back into slicks. So he lost the lead again and saw Jarier, Hunt, Fittipaldi, Pache and Mas all go past him.
Amazingly, their strategy worked, So Jarier then led for 2 laps, but then his wet tyres lost their advantage. And so Hunt became the 6th leader of the race when Jarier pitted for slicks.
There's a lot of action going on here, Louis, in it because of the rain. Yeah. So Jarier rejoined in a distant 5th after Mas had to stop for a new nose cone after a spin, coming back in 8th. So he lost a few places.
Yeah, so the order is now Hunt, Fittipaldi, Pache, Scheckter, Jarier, Donahue, Brambilla and Mas. Then disaster struck for Hunt, poor guy, when his exhaust pipe fell off, which cost him crucial power. Remember when Lauda had a problem? It just sounded bad. I just made that up, but it didn't impact his racing. But
it didn't. Yeah.
But this allowed Fittipaldi to pretty much fly past him into the lead. So the 7th different race leader, I think, at this point.
Yes.
And I did actually, this inspired me to look up which races had the most different number of race leaders.
Yeah.
And this race didn't feature. There were other, I can't remember. I don't know if I mentioned it later, but this race, there's more races that more.
It would be a Monza
slipstreaming.
The slipstreaming.
Still 7 different race leaders, pretty exciting.
How bad would you feel for Hunt? Like he'd gotten through the tricky, risky part of wets and slicks and wets, and then he
stayed on slicks in the rain and saw someone fly past him, then he'd pass them back.
That's right.
When they're dried.
And then his exhaust pipe fell off. Like, that's just cruel. So by lap 53, Hunt was 4th as Pache and Scheckter also overtook his sick Hesketh.
Yeah. On lap 56 of 70, the rain fell again. But this time, not just rain, a massive hailstorm. And this took place when the whole grid was on slicks. So Jarier in the shadow slid off the track into the catch fencing, giving him a head injury and debris flying into the grandstand, which injured a spectator. But, they stayed out.
Great.
Yeah.
They stayed out. It was carnage. Brambilla in the March went into the pits to get into wets. But Fittipaldi, Pache, Scheckter and Hunt all continued on slicks in the hail.
They wouldn't do that in Formula One today.
No.
So conditions got worse and only Fittipaldi went on to finish lap 56 as the other 3, Pache, Scheckter and Hunt, all spun off at the same corner into the catch fencing.
Oh, that would have been crazy. So most of the other drivers also ended up in the fence and only 6 drivers were left on track, including Fittipaldi, Jones in the Hill, Andretti in the Parnelli, Lauda and Regazzoni. They all stopped for wet tyres, but during these pit stops, the race was red flagged and stopped.
Wow. So through all the confusion, the winner was Fittipaldi, but the rest of the positions were the subject of 3 days of deliberation and protests. The final decision was that as the race had ended on lap 55, which was the last lap before all the spins that we just talked about, there's 3 drivers that went off together at the same time. So the final standings were Fittipaldi first, Pache in the Brabham second, Scheckter in the Tyrrell third, and Hunt amazingly still held on to 4th in the Hesketh.
Wow. What a crazy race. But I love what a bit of rain does, or even hail. Good on Fittipaldi. Once again, he is showing his skill in the rain, which I feel he has done before, Louis. We've talked about him being a good wet weather racer.
Yeah, and he's really being impressive as a driver. He's just had a bit of a average season, except for the start where he won. Did he win the first 2 races or something similar?
I think he won the first race. Yes, it was a good, because we said it was a good start by the defending champion.
Okay.
Yeah, this guy, you said you did a bit of research on how many different leaders were.
It took too much for me to find out. Yeah, the most lead changes was 41, which was 64 Monza, like you said.
Yeah,
but
it would be
the
Monza.
number of different drivers is different, and that's something I needed more research to find that answer. But I'm sure this 7 different race leaders probably is in the top few.
Yeah,
there wouldn't be too many different.
Top 10 for sure.
Top 10 for sure, yeah.
All right, so back to the standings. Niki Lauda is on 47. Fittipaldi is on 33, so he's jumped up to he's closed his gap a little bit. He was always in second, but he's closed his gap to Lauda. James Hunt, third on 25 with Carlos Reutemann, and Pache is on 24. And in the constructors, Ferrari is on 50 points, Brabham is on 42, and McLaren Ford is on 39.5, and the Hesketh is fourth on 25 points.
Pretty good. Okay. So up to race 11, the German Grand Prix. It's at the Nürburgring, 3rd of August, 14 laps, and the weather is warm and sunny. So there was a bit of scrambling by teams to fix their cars after the thrills and spills and hail of Silverstone. And as a result, it was good that most of the teams could complement with a full range of cars. They all fixed it in time.
That's good. So practice got off to a good start with Lauda in form and determined to become the first to qualify and lap under the 7-minute mark, like officially.
Yeah. And we've all been waiting for this for a long time, haven't we?
Yes.
Rain came through during the first session, ending all hopes of record-breaking times. But the Saturday session was warm and sunny, and it looked like initially that Lauda was struggling and he wasn't going to make the 7-minute barrier.
Weren't we like amazed, Louis, I think in the 60s when they got under the 10-minute mark? Do you remember that?
In the 9-minute mark.
I remember and now we're under sub 7.
Yeah, or we think we are. Let's see.
Yeah, so the afternoon session, though, it happened. We saw him clock a time of 6 minutes, 58.6 seconds.
Yeah, he did it.
Position. Yay. And the honour of the first official sub 7-minute lap at the ring. Yeah, it was a major achievement. Everyone recognised it at the time.
Yeah, and like we said, we both remember the old days, getting under 10 minutes, getting under 9 minutes. It got me thinking. I did try to research this, but it got too difficult. I wanted to see who was the first driver to get under the 8-minute mark, and why didn't they make such a big deal about that? But no matter how much you search for it, it's not easy to find unless you manually start eyeballing and looking at it. I didn't bother. But I thought it would be, every time I looked up who's done Nürburgring under 8 minutes, the first, it kept showing me this Lauda one. The whole of internet was focused on this Lauda lap. It didn't matter.
Wow.
The 8 and the 9 minute. Nah, it's all about Lauda 7.
So maybe they went from like 9 minutes to 7 minutes.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm sure if we look, it wouldn't take long to look, but I was too lazy to look. Yeah.
I'm surprised that Stewart wasn't in there somewhere. Like he was breaking all sorts of records in the Tyrrell.
He was having 2 or 3 second gaps or something in the qualifying.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
So Pache was second in the Brabham with 7 minutes flat. Then Scheckter third, Depay fourth, Regazzoni in the Ferrari fifth, and Fittipaldi next. Or Fittipaldi was eighth. So we're mentioning him because he's one of the championship players.
Yeah. So race day was also sunny and warm, but the drivers were concerned with the high number of punctures that they'd seen in the morning session. So the morning of the race, they're allowed to do like a half an hour untimed kind of practice, and there were lots of punctures in that session. So the track was swept, but the drivers still weren't confident that this would do anything to fix the situation.
And we're talking nearly 20-kilometre track here. The track was swept. Yeah. Like a big effort.
Exactly.
Yeah, not like a minor thing, right?
No.
So race start though, Ferrari took off and immediately, or Lauda took off, sorry, and set about opening up a lead to Pache in the Brabham, while Depailler himself overtook Pache for second soon after. So not a great start, but not losing too much. In fourth was Mass in the McLaren, followed by Reutemann in fifth. And I was going to ask you, Rose, I'm tending to see Pache ahead of Reutemann in that Brabham. There's no 1 and 2. What do you think?
No.
Do you see 1 and 2 or not really?
I'm reading more around Pache taking the moves, being ahead, being in the race lead. I think I'm leaning towards Pache being number 1.
But Reutemann's getting the results.
Yes, something always happens to Pache. His car's letting him down, or he's spinning out, or something. Yeah, yep. So to the race, Mas had a tyre disintegrate, which caused him to crash. I wonder if that was because of a puncture. He was out of the race, luckily with no injuries. Donoghue in the March also had a deflating tyre, causing him to limp to the pits for a change.
Yeah, so it looks like the drivers' fears are being realised, because this is still only lap 1. Now, they're long laps, of course, with over 7 minutes, because they're not all doing louder times. And so it's a concern, isn't it, that only the first 8 minutes, not good things are happening. So the order was Lauda, Depailler, Pache, and behind them the troubles were piling up. Fittipaldi was next to suffer a puncture, which damaged his suspension, and he retired on lap 4.
Yeah, the Nürburgring is always brutal. And there were quite a few retirements due to punctures, engine blowouts and suspension damage to the midfield, but also to one of the leading pack, none other than Pache, Luigi.
Of course, his number 1 status means he has to have the issues, right? So now it was Lauda, Depailler, Regazzoni, Reutemann and Hunt. And Scheckter was storming through the field after a bad start, but both he and Jarier and the Shadow were running 6th and had large accidents and were out of the race. We don't know why exactly, but yeah.
No, they just and Mike Lang doesn't really go into it in too much detail either. He just says they had large accidents. So on lap 9 of 14, with only 13 cars left in the race, Depailler's chase on Lauda ended when his front suspension broke, and he rejoined 1 lap down after a visit to the pits.
Yeah. I'm fairly certain that if one suspension breaks, there is no pit visit to fix it, unless it's a really long pit visit, like 1 hour or something, I don't know.
Well, this is a lot. He rejoined 1 lap down, so it would have been at least a 7 minute.
Yeah, 7 minutes.
8 minute pit stop. So
yeah. I'm still impressed they managed to fix it.
Yes, yeah.
So at the front of the race, we have a Ferrari 1-2, but again, it was short-lived as the oil pressure vanished on Regazzoni's car, forcing him to retire on lap 10. So this allowed Hunt up into second place.
It gets worse for Ferrari. By the end of lap 9, Lauda is also crawling to the pits with a puncture, losing a commanding lead and allowing Reutemann, Hunt, Price and Lafitte in the Williams to all go past him.
We haven't heard Lafitte this year, and he's also a driver that goes into the 80s. He's another driver that ticks my beginning of modern era in my mind. Hunt then retires with sheared drive pegs. So I don't know what that is, but let's call it something to do with
the
gearbox. I don't know. Pegs.
I don't know.
Yeah. On a rear hub.
Yeah,
okay.
That's why I think
rear wheel something. Rear wheel something.
Rear wheel. Yeah.
And Lauda rejoined the race in 4th after his pit stop. So at least he came back from his puncture.
Yeah, that's good. So with 2 laps left, Reutemann was out on his own as Price was being soaked by fuel from a loose filler cap. Someone didn't put the cap on properly, Louis.
That Brabham team. It's Brabham.
No, Price was Shadow.
That's right. I was thinking of Pache. But it was Pache, though. It was Pache that had the blown engine or something.
Yes.
And Reutemann's also in the Brabham.
Yes, but
this is Price. This is Price in the Shadow. Yeah, got it. Their names are so similar. Yeah.
I know. So he had a loose filler cap. So someone didn't put the cap back on. And all this fuel was burning his skin and the fumes were blinding him.
That's nuts. He still was driving. He still drove.
And he still drove, yes.
Yeah, on a super dangerous track.
I know. But he slowed down and this allowed Lafitte and Lauda to overtake him on lap 13. So, yeah, he wasn't having a good time.
Well, he obviously had to slow down. I mean, otherwise, yeah. So that seems to be an avoidable issue to me, the poor guy.
Yeah, you
fuel
reckon?
cap thing. Yeah.
Put the fuel cap on properly.
Yeah. So the finish was Reutemann's first win for his first win of the season. Sorry, it's not his first win. Lafitte's second, his first ever points in F1, and giving Frank Williams his best placing ever as a constructor, because this is the first time they've used their own engine versus they've used other chassis. And Lauda, after great recovery drive, finished third.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Louis, I keep getting Lafitte mixed up with Latifi, and they both drove for Williams.
Lafitte will make you forget. Latifi did not drive long enough to have this memory in you. You've got to kill that memory, because Lafitte's way more important.
It's
way more
probably
important.
An insult. It's an insult to Lafitte.
It's an insult. It is. Sorry, Latifi. We respect you as a driver. You did well to get to Formula One. You did really well.
Yes. So Price finished fourth, and Alan Jones in the Hill finished fifth. So pretty good.
That might be his first points.
Graham Hill. I think so. Yeah.
For Jones, I mean.
Yes, I think it is. Yes. All right.
And another dramatic race for a different set of reasons to Silverstone. So,
Yes. All right. So with Lauda's third, he extends his lead again. So he's on 51. Reutemann's second on 34. Fittipaldi third on 33. Hunt fourth on 25. And Paul Pache in fifth on 24, having led the race here. So bad luck for him. And in the constructors, we've got Ferrari on 54, Brabham on 51, and McLaren on 39.5.
Look at that, Brabham sneaking up to Ferrari.
I know.
It's Ferrari, they wouldn't have seen Brabham as their main rival, but I guess they are. Do you know what I mean?
both drivers for Brabham are doing well. I think that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. They're both scoring points. So
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to leave it there and come back for the final part, Louis. Do you think? We'll fit in the final part of 1975? Okay. Yeah. All right. See you, everyone.
Bye. See ya.